So we'll start in the East bracket, starting with the UConn's Stetson game, and just kind of briefly go through each of these matchups, what we expect. We'll just kind of go through all of them, and starting with East to West to North and then to South. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
All right, man. I'll let you guys start us off with the UConn Stetson matchup.
Yeah, Stetson. I don't know if you guys followed it at all, but the Atlantic Sun Conference tournament was insane. One of the first games of the night was one seed Jackson, or I think it was Jacksonville. They lost to, or no, it was one seed. Gosh, yeah, Jacksonville was a 10 seed, and they beat the one seed. I can't remember who it is at this point. It was 2 weeks ago now, but Stetson ended up winning it. Not much to say There's not much to say about this game. UConn shouldn't have any issues. Cool fact about it, though.
Really good guard. It can score a lot of points. So
yeah,
one thing going to them, but they're not going to have a chance against UConn.
So. Yeah, Blackman. I'm sure Stetson's guard you're talking about will hit the portal as soon as they're eliminated from this game. I know Indiana. I'm an Indiana fan, and we've had our people are already connecting him to IU. So
that'd be a good pickup for them.
Yeah, it'd be great. One of Stetson's assistant coaches was the point guard on the Florida Gulf Coast Dunk City team. So keep an eye out for that.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. This is pretty cut dry. I mean, I'm not expecting any upset from this matchup. To be honest, like UConn is probably one of my top picks for this tournament just because, yeah, they definitely won it last year, but they just look like the best team or one of the best teams so far this year. So, yeah, nothing out of the ordinary. It's going to be a nice, good old clean sweep for this game. So, next to the next matchup, FAU versus Northwestern.
You can go ahead, Huddy.
Okay. It would probably have been a tougher pick for me like a month ago or 2 months ago before Northwestern's been really struggling with injuries. The starting guard, Ty Berry, is out for the season. He was averaging 10 or 11 points a game. And I believe Barnheiser, their center, has been out now for a couple of weeks as well. So I'm not sure if they're expecting them back, but because of that, those injury issues, I like Florida Atlantic. I think Florida Atlantic, they've got that experience of getting through these tough tournament games. I think the John L. Davis Boo Buie matchup will be great. But I think Florida Atlantic has enough, and their starting center, Golden, will put them over the top here.
Yeah, I like Florida Atlantic to win pretty easily in this game. I think they're just the more athletic team and more experience. But yeah, without the injuries, this would have been a much better game. I think Florida Atlantic's favored by 2.5 in this game right now. So I expect them to cover that and win pretty easily.
Yep, I'm on the same boat. I mean, usually 8 and 9s are sometimes a flip coin, but I have much more faith in Florida Atlantic just because they had a really great showing last year in the tournament, and they're looking pretty good right now.
And a lot of people have been saying they're just waiting for March. They're just trying to get through their conference tournament and conference season and get to March again. So we'll see if it comes to fruition.
Yeah, and me and Ethan were actually talking this earlier, where I think we can both agree that the East region is probably one of the toughest ones, just because there's 3 of the Final 4 in this region alone. So that goes on to our next matchup, which is San Diego State versus UAB. How about you lead us out with this, Huddy?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think UAB is going to give San Diego State some problems. I think San Diego State wins the game, but I think it's close. Ethan, I don't know if you know what the spread is right now, but
it's 7. I saw was San Diego State was 7.5 point favorite. So
okay, I wouldn't be surprised if UAB covered that. I mean, they're riding a lot of momentum. They just won their conference tournament. They're playing with house money. They really don't have any pressure on them at all. And San Diego State, they got a little bit of pressure on them. Highest seed in the Mountain West.
Yeah, we'll see if they can match last year's run to the championship game. I don't see it unless they get hot from 3 again. But they do have a pretty much similar team as last year, so that's the thing. That's what this tournament comes down to: are you going to get hot from 3 or not? So, but I actually think UB has a good chance to win this game. They're very athletic, and they're riding a big win streak, and they didn't think they're going to be here. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I have a friend. She lives in San Diego, and when they were in the Final Four, she would watch the game from the Padres game where they just had it on the big jumbo screen because, I think that game is more important than a typical regular season baseball game for them. Yeah. So that was pretty cool to see. Next, we got Auburn and Yale. How about you, Ethan?
I wanna think Yale's gonna give them a game. I know Yale is a really good center. and they got that lefty. I forget what his name is. It's kind of a weird name. I forget what his name is, but I just think Auburn is too athletic, too quick. I think they're gonna run away with it in the second half. Yale might keep it close in the first half, but I think eventually Auburn's gonna take over.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. I don't see Yale giving Auburn too many problems. They're too long and athletic, and they just play at such a fast pace. I think they're gonna be tough to beat.
I am a little mad that Princeton didn't get in from the Ivy. They had a good shot to make a good run again like they did last year. So I'm a little disappointed that they didn't get in, but
I am too. Yeah, they had some key players that returned from that team last year, and they didn't show up against Brown.
nah, it's unbelievable. But Brown almost won the whole thing.
That's
That's been the
true.
first time the 1 or the 2 seed hasn't made since they came out with the Ivy tournament. That hasn't made the tournament. So,
Man,
I have Auburn for this one too. So let's get on to BYU and I always butcher Duquesne.
yeah, Duquesne.
Oh, the S is silent, I guess. I almost said Duquesne. All right, so BYU versus Duquesne.
You can go ahead, Eddie.
I actually have an upset here. I have Duquesne winning this game. Duquesne is another team that's coming in with a lot of momentum, winning a very tough Atlantic 10. They beat Dayton, another tournament team, in the first round I guess it would be Duquesne's second round, but Dayton's first game in the A10 tournament. They went on to beat a very good VCU team in the championship yesterday. BYU's played a gauntlet of a season in the Big 12. They're pretty battle tested, but I just like the way Duquesne's playing right now, and I feel like they're one of those teams that finds a way to pull out a victory here. And they have something to play for too, as of today, with like you said earlier, their coach retiring. So I think that gives them some added motivation.
Yeah, I want to pick Duquesne. I really do. I think Day Grant's gonna have a good game. They've been on fire from 3, but I think BYU, that team, can go in spurts, and I'm just excited to see Ali Khalifa in the tournament here. I think he's a difference maker in this game. So
I have BYU in this one just because they've actually played in harder games, being that they just entered the Big 12, and Big 12 is probably, I would say, first or second best conference in basketball right now. So I got BYU for this one. And then for Illinois versus Morehead State, I got Illinois just because, as I mentioned, I saw them have a very dominant performance in the tournament. And honestly, I don't know too much about Morehead State, but based off what I've seen from Illinois, I have pretty good confidence that this would be a game for them to win.
yeah, this spread's pretty high. I think Morehead State's going to give them a game. I think Illinois' defense is not that great, and I think in the end Illinois is going to win between 6 and 8 is my guess. But I think Morehead State's going to give them a game. It's going to be tight late, and I think maybe Shannon hits a shot late, but it's not going to be as easy as everyone thinks.
Yeah, Morehead State actually played at Indiana in the non-conference this year earlier in the season, and we had a claw back to win that game. I think we were down 5 late. Of course, we're not Illinois by no means, but still they held a lead there towards the end of the game at Assembly Hall, and they got some tough players. They're going to be. I don't think they have enough to match Terrence Shannon Jr.'s playmaking ability, but I think it's going to be. I think, like you said, it's going to be a close game.
All right, so then transitioning over to Washington State versus Drake. I like watching Drake in the tournaments, man, because, being from Iowa, I like to see more Iowa teams make these tournaments, and I'd rather have Drake than the University of Iowa on here, which is what I got. So I'm rooting for Drake on this one. I think they're going to take care of business against Washington State.
Yeah, I want to pick Drake. I think they're an old team. They're good. They're tested in the NBC as well. But in the end, I think Washington State's gonna be the better team in this game, and so I'm picking Washington State to win. I think actually Drake's a very small favorite in this game, actually, to be honest with you. So It's gonna be a very tight game. I'm looking forward to this game a lot, but in the end, I think Washington State's gonna be the better team in the end.
AJ, I'm with you here. I have Drake pulling it out. They were in the tournament last year. They gave Miami a good run in the first round. They went on to make the Final Four. So this Drake team did return a lot of players from last year. I think the Valley was a tough tournament this year, or a tough league with Indiana State and Bradley as well. So I like Drake to pull off. I guess it wouldn't really be an upset if they're favored, but I'd like to see Drake win here.
Well, sounds good to me. Okay, so last one for the East. We have Iowa State versus South Dakota State. Yeah, I mean, not much for me, but what I've already said. I think this will be another just an easy matchup. I think they're favored by like 16.5 is what I saw. Um, yeah, they're coming off a really confident, like kind of like momentum going into this tournament. So, and I just don't see South Dakota State really kind of breaking that confidence. And I believe the head coach used to coach at South Dakota State too. So I think it'd be like a little bit of a homecoming game for him to play his old team. So that'd be pretty cool for Coach TJ.
It'd be funny if South Dakota State come out with Hampton jerseys on. Remind me, I always say last time they were a 2 seed, what happened? So we'll see. South Dakota State, I watched their championship game. They were dominating, and they gave up a late comeback. But that team, I think they can shoot from 3, and they got some players. So I think it'll be closer than 16 in my opinion. But I think Iowa State's going to win in the end.
Yeah, I have Iowa State winning this game as well, setting up the battle of Iowa State versus Drake in the round of 32.
That'd be an awesome matchup. I hope that I'd be happy with that matchup too.
Let's see. Let's go to the West region now. God, they don't have the first 4 matchup. Who's it against for
Howard and Wagner in that one?
Yeah,
who is the first 4 games.
Okay, what do you guys think of this matchup? Whoever makes it to play UNC.
UNC, enough said.
Yeah.
That's right.
Howard has 8th-year senior Seth Towns on their team, but I think North Carolina has enough.
Ohio State, right? Isn't that where he started his career?
I can't remember. He's been at 3 or 4 schools, but yeah, it's crazy.
Then to Mississippi State versus Michigan State. I'm a big Tom Izzo fan. I think this will be his 26th tournament appearance, which is crazy. Mississippi State, I don't have any notes on them unless you guys have anything you want to mention about that team. But I have more faith in Tom Izzo to get the job done in the first round than will Mississippi State doing it.
I'm picking Mississippi State. I don't think Michigan State really belongs in the tournament. I think they had an up and down year. Mississippi State has a Josh Hubbard who's gonna go off. He's gonna score 30 points in this game, and he's gonna will them to a win.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mississippi State pulls us out. I think between him and Tolu Smith, that's a great duo. And Tom Izzo's been frustrated all year with that Michigan State team. I think that nothing really impresses me about them outside of their metrics that got them in the field. They lost at Indiana a few weeks ago, so that was a bad loss. So, yeah, Mississippi State pulls it out here.
Dope. Then we got St. Mary's versus Grand Canyon. St. Mary's, let's see, I did write something about St. Mary's. They just beat Gonzaga in the West Coast tournament, and they've been on a really good streak since probably December. I think they only have 2 losses since then. I'm liking them for this. Grand Canyon, I think this is their 3rd appearance in the last 4 tournaments. So you can't really discount them either, but I just have more faith in St. Mary's to get this one done.
Yeah, I want to pick St. Mary's. I think they're a very good team. They did lose a big piece towards the end of the season of their team, so I'm going to pick Grand Canyon in this game. I think they're finally going to get through in the tournament. They have a lot of good pieces on Grand Canyon that can definitely give St. Mary's trouble. So I'm going to pick Grand Canyon in this game.
Yeah, I have Grand Canyon too, actually. I think Tyon Grant Foster for Grand Canyon is going to be the best player on the floor. I think a lot of people are going to get to see what he's like. He's, I think, projected an NBA first-round pick right now for Grand Canyon. So I'm really excited to see him play against St. Mary's. This is one of the more popular upsets I think people are on, but it's one of the ones I'm definitely behind too. I like Grand Canyon here.
Yeah, they've been great all year long. So,
and they're coached by Bryce Drew, who's hit one of the greatest shots in NCAA tournament history. So
yeah, good old Valparaiso.
Yeah.
Now we got Alabama versus Charleston. Hey, Ethan, how about you start this off since I know you're pretty high in Alabama?
Yeah, I do like Alabama a lot. I think that their offense is just going to be awesome. Them and Charleston are very similar. They both like to get up and down the floor, and I think in the end, Alabama just has the better shooters and is going to outscore them. I can see this game being 100-95, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, I think I think them to go pretty far this tournament. So,
yeah, this Charleston team is really good. They have made the tournament now back-to-back seasons. They have a couple of new players this year from last year that have really contributed really well. But you're right, it's going to be a very high scoring game. I think I saw it's the highest predicted point total since like 2002 or something like that. So I believe it was around 170 points. So a lot of points are going to be scored in this game. It's just going to be who wants to play defense and who makes the stops down the stretch. I think it can be close though, because I think Charleston has got some good players.
They do.
Yeah, I mean, I like this Alabama team. The only concern I have is they've lost the final six. They lost 4 of the final 6 games. It comes down to who can just play a little bit better defense, and I just think Alabama's going to come on top. And then Clemson versus New Mexico. For this one, I have New Mexico coming away with this because, fun fact, Clemson hasn't won the first round, and they lost 7 of the last 8 first-round matchups. So I just don't see this being any different based on what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I can see New Mexico being a popular pick again. I think in the end, I think Clemson's going to win this game. I do like what New Mexico did in the tournament or in their conference tournament, but I think I feel like Clemson. I think PJ Hall's going to kind of have a huge game, and I think he's going to win the game for him in the end. So
I think Clemson does pull it out as well. I think Jalen House is going to be a fun player to watch. Jalen House will be a fun player for New Mexico to watch in this game, as well as PJ Hall for Clemson. But I think Clemson pulls it out in the end.
Right. So the next we have Baylor against Colgate. Who wants to start this one off?
Colgate's been in the tournament the last 6 seasons. They've given a lot of high major teams a lot of trouble. In the end, the athleticism of the other teams have taken over. I think they were ahead by 15 last year against Arkansas, or the year before, ended up losing by double digits. So I think they may give Baylor a tough game early on, but Baylor will easily win this game, I think.
100% agree. Their athleticism's kept them from winning a couple of games probably over the last few years. I remember that Arkansas game specifically. But yeah, Baylor, very athletic, got some future NBA players on that roster. They're just going to be too overwhelming for Colgate. Although I think Colgate can probably lead for somewhat of this game as well, like they did against Arkansas.
Yeah, I got Baylor for this matchup as well. Right. And then we have 2 more in the West. So we got Dayton versus Nevada.
Dayton's been great all year. Again, I think Holmes is probably an NBA. I don't know what he is projected, but I think he can definitely play in the NBA. So for Dayton, Dayton's just every time I've watched him, there's something missing. So I think Nevada's going to win this game and move on.
Yeah, for me, Dayton is on fraud alert for me. They did not end the season as well as they would have liked to. They lost to Loyola. They lost to Duquesne in the tournament. I believe they also lost to George Mason too in the last 2 weeks of the season. They don't have a single win against any team in the field this year. So I like Nevada. Nevada finished second in the Mountain West. Steve Alford has tournament experience. I like Nevada here.
Let's see. I believe I picked Dayton for this matchup, and then transitioning to the last matchup, Arizona versus Long Beach State. It's pretty clean. I mean, Arizona's had some streaky games, but they've also won some hard non-conference games. And Caleb Love, the transfer from, I believe, UNC. I think he just won Pac-12 Player of the Year, and I just think they'll take care of business, no problem.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting with this Long Beach State team. They fired Dan Munson before the conference tournament, and he goes and wins it. So, again, I hope they give Arizona a game. I don't know, but in the end, Arizona's going to win the game. So,
yeah, you gotta wonder, who the Long Beach State athletic director is going for in this game, because if the head coach you just fired wins an NCAA tournament game, that's a really bad look on you. We'll see. He might be a big fan of Arizona in this game. But I think Arizona does pull it out. They've had their fair share of troubles with 15 seeds, like last year. But I think that they do pull it out. That they figure it out this year and they get it done over Long Beach.
We have Houston versus Longwood. I don't really see an upset alert. Huddy probably knows I picked Houston for previous tournaments back when I used to work at UTEC with him. And I get lucky a few times, but Houston doesn't necessarily get the job done all the way. But I can see them taking care of this, no problem.
Yeah, Longwood was an upset in their conference tournament, so High Point probably. I mean, they could give a high major team a problem, but they're not making it. So Longwood's not going to have a chance. I see Houston win this by 30 plus easy.
Yeah, I see this being a typical 116 blowout.
See, then we got Nebraska versus Texas A&M. My boy Fred Hoiberg, the old Iowa State head coach, at Nebraska, and I picked this one to be Nebraska.
You go first, buddy.
I also have Nebraska winning this game. I think they have a lot of talent. They have a very talented roster. They've got a lot of shooters. They are a little streaky, so it is gonna come down to what Nebraska team we get. They weren't great on the road this year. I think they only won 1 or 2 Big Ten games on the road. So we'll see how they do on the neutral court. But I think Tominaga goes off in this game, and people fall in love with him in the tournament on the national stage.
Yeah, as much as I love Tominaga, I think Wade Taylor is going to will Texas A&M to win and go for 30 plus in this game as well. So it's good to see if Tominaga goes off and Nebraska wins. If Wade Taylor goes off, I think they win. So, but I'm picking Texas A&M to move on.
All right. Next, we have Wisconsin versus James Madison. Wisconsin had a pretty good run in the Big Ten tournament. I mean, they were, as I mentioned, not the most hottest team before the tournament, but then they got pretty hot. Chucky Hepburn has definitely matured into a great player, and AJ Storr, who's literally the star of that tournament for Wisconsin. But Wisconsin lacks athleticism, and they're just not a very strong three-point team. And James Madison, I like what I've seen from James Madison. I think they have the longest winning streak within college basketball right now. So I'm actually going to go with the upset. So James Madison's going to win this game.
Yeah, it's definitely a trendy upset pick of James Madison beating Wisconsin. They did go to Michigan State and win this year. Terrence Edwards, I think his name. Terrence Edwards is a very good player, but I'm gonna pick Wisconsin to move on. So,
yeah, it's gonna be a fun game. It's the Battle of Madison, right? It's Madison to Wisconsin versus James Madison. If James Madison wins at Wisconsin, they got to rename that town James Madison. So that's all I know. But I think, yeah, it is a trendy pick. It's gonna be a close game. Wisconsin, I think they found their brand again, their identity that they really lost halfway through the season. I like Wisconsin to pull it out here. They're playing really well. They just beat the number 2 team in the country less than a week ago. So Badgers get the win.
Yeah, that Purdue win was definitely a shocker to me. I did not expect that to happen.
I think this game will come down to the very end, and I think Wisconsin will make a shot late to win the game.
I think it'll be Chucky Hepburn.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we got Duke versus Vermont. So this is John Shire's second season when he has some veteran players back, which isn't very typical for Duke basketball, in my opinion. It's usually the one and dones. But this is not the same, Duke dynasty we've seen when Coach K was around. I mean, losing to North Carolina State was a pretty low blow for them, but I still think they'll take care of business against this Vermont team.
Yeah, Vermont's in the tournament every single year. It feels like every Saturday early on they have that conference tournament game at home. They win. They're in. Duke's just gonna win. Vermont's not as good as they've been years past, and Duke I think just overpowers them.
Yeah, Vermont's been dealing with injuries. I think they have two guys in their rotation who have been injured. Filipowski, comeback player of the year, obviously. I think Duke pulls this game out.
Definitely. Okay, and next is Texas Tech versus North Carolina State. In my bracket, I have for some reason I picked Texas Tech, but I can see North Carolina State coming in from behind and making a very close game, though.
Yeah, I think Tech runs away with this game. It's hard to go against a team that's been playing as hot as North Carolina State has, but I just like the way Texas Tech plays the game. I love Pop Isaacs. So I just think they move on. I think this game's they're going to win it pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree. Texas Tech wins the game, but DJ Burns is the best player on the court, and he goes for 25 and 15 against this Texas Tech team.
Watching him play basketball is just so funny to me. I don't know. It's just so slow, but he's so productive and it's just so good.
He is. Yeah, it's great. I don't think North Carolina State. I mean, they did the impossible, right? They won 5 games in 5 days. I just don't know if they have anything left in the tank to take it much further than that.
All right. Next we got good old Kentucky versus Oakland. Kentucky's not, just like what I said about Duke, it's not the same kind of like dynasty blue blood basketball we've seen, but it's going to be enough to take care of this Oakland team. I mean, Coach Cal is probably one of the most decorated active coaches within this entire tournament, but just not the same level of talent, especially since they lost the first, I believe the first round of their conference tournament. So still, it's still Kentucky. This team is way more talented than what we're seeing from Oakland.
Yeah, if Kentucky can play any sort of defense, they played some really good games this year of defense. Their offense can easily win any game, but they can play any sort of defense. They can go really far in this tournament, so they're going to win this game pretty easily.
I think this game interests me for a couple of different reasons. There's two teams that are playing under the most pressure in this tournament. It's Purdue and it's Kentucky. John Calipari has not been able to get his teams over the hump recently in tournaments. And he's got a very talented team this year with a couple of NBA first-round draft picks on his roster. Oakland has played; they're pretty well battle-tested. They've played 3 Big Ten teams this year. Lost to Ohio State by 6, lost to Illinois by 11, got beat by Michigan State by 15. They beat Xavier as well. So this Oakland team has seen their fair share of tough teams this year. They shoot a lot of threes and make a lot of threes. If they're making threes in this game, look for them to give Kentucky some issues.
All right. Now we got.
It's good to see Greg Campy in the tournament too. So,
of course.
Let's see. We got Florida, and then this matchup will be between Boise State and I think Colgate.
no, Colorado.
Colorado. Yes. If I were to choose who's going to come on top to face Florida, I'm leaning a little more towards Colorado. I think they have like a 2.5 point favorite against Boise State, and then when they play Florida just take care of business. They're pretty hot right now.
Yeah, I got Boise State beating Colorado, and I think Florida will beat Boise State.
Yeah, I got Florida beating Boise State as well. A lot of blue and orange on the court, but Florida pulls it out.
Yeah, I like Florida to make a deep run as well. I think that Florida-Kentucky game, if we get that one, if they can beat Marquette, I think it would be an awesome game.
For sure.
And then speaking of Marquette, we got Marquette versus Western Kentucky in the final matchup of the North region. Marquette taking care of business. I really like this Marquette team. Marquette's has always been a team to look out for in the conference. I mean, in the March Madness tournament. Shaka Smart. I think Huddy can agree that we both like Shaka Smart as a head coach. He's probably one of the best coaches I've seen in college basketball right now. The real strong defense. I think injuries are hurting them a little bit, but this team is a pretty guard-heavy team, which will take care of business no problem, especially in this region.
Yeah, I think Kolek's supposed to come back, so as long as he comes back, I think Marquette, even if he doesn't come back in this game, I think they're fine against Western Kentucky. But if they want to make a deep run, they need Kolek back.
I agree. It'll be interesting to see what Kolek shows up. I know it might not matter for this game, but further on in the tournament, he didn't show up in some of their biggest games this year. I saw him play a couple of times, and he just didn't have great games. But it'll be interesting to see, whether he's healthy. If he's fully healthy, I think this Marquette team can make a deeper run than last year.
In the Montana State Grambling State game, I really don't know. I'm going to pick Montana State. They're from the Big Sky. They made an upset over Montana in the championship game. But Purdue's not going to have an issue this year with the 16 seed, so Purdue's going to win.
Yeah, I don't see this game being close. Purdue. Hopefully that doesn't end up on freezing cold takes, but Purdue should win this game.
Was it Purdue they lost in the first round last year?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they probably had that chip on their shoulder, and they definitely don't want that to happen again.
The last time a 16 seed beat a 1, the next year that team won the championship. So
that's right, Virginia.
Yep.
This Purdue team is different, more experienced. Braden Smith and Lawyer are grown up sophomores, and Lance Jones is a huge addition that I think helps get this Purdue team over the hump. They're super deep. They bring 4 to 5 guys off the bench. I think this is the year they can make a little bit of a run.
All right, how about you lead us off for Utah State versus TCU?
This is a tough one. This is almost a toss-up for me. Utah State, I think, underseeded, deserve a higher seed. I think they pull this game out. I just think they're the better team. There's a lot of good guard play in this game, but I like Utah State to pull it out in the end.
I also like Utah State to pull it out. I think that they'll make enough threes, and TCU's not the great shooting team, but they like to run a lot. So if Utah State gets in a running match with them, it could be an issue. But I like Utah State to win the game.
Like Huddy said, this was kind of a flip of a coin for me. It's one of those 8 and 9s where you can pick either side. I originally picked TCU, but there's been some compelling arguments for Utah State, so I will change my answer to Utah State. And then we got the infamous Gonzaga, and they're going against McNeese.
McNeese State.
McNeese. How about you, Ethan? What do you think?
Another very, very trendy upset pick. McNeese State has Will Wade. Used to be at LSU, got in trouble, but he's turned this program around real quick. So I still think in the end, Gonzaga is going to win the game. McNeese State is a very, very good team, though, and they are very athletic and can match up with anyone, I think, in the country athletically. But I think in the end, Gonzaga is just a better team that's going to win.
Yeah, this is probably the trendiest upset on the bracket. I wouldn't be surprised if 70-75% of the brackets have McNeese State winning this game. But I think Gonzaga's size can bother McNeese. I don't think McNeese starts a super tall 5. I like Gonzaga here.
Yeah, I got Gonzaga for this one as well. Next, we got Kansas versus Samford. Kansas, I believe they're kind of underseed a little bit. Their starting 5 is very dangerous, especially have Hunter Dickerson back in there. And the bench isn't really that strong, in my opinion. But Bill Self is just like Coach Cal. He's just a super decorated coach in this tournament, and I'm sure he will find a way to get out of this first round.
This is my favorite upset of the tournament right here. Samford's winning this game. They will beat Kansas, and we'll move on. That's all I gotta say about it.
Yeah, I haven't been impressed with Kansas all year. Of course, they've been injured. But I don't think they're going to be at 100% for this game with Dickinson and McCullers. So this is in my brackets, I'm picking Samford here as well. I think that they played – it's funny. I think they played Purdue the first game of the year, and they lost by like 50. But since then, they've lost a handful of games, very few, maybe 3 or 4. I like Samford here.
And the SoCon's always good in the tournament. They always play teams tough.
Yeah.
Last year,
Furman
Virginia got beat by
Furman.
who was it?
Furman.
Furman, yeah. Furman made
Yeah.
that shot late, came back, hit that shot late by McGee's. So I think SoCon gets another win and Samford moves on.
I mean, as an Iowa State fan, I would like to see Kansas get upset. But we'll see. Okay, now down to South Carolina versus Oregon. Oregon is coming off of a Pac-12 title. For this one, I'm going to pick actually South Carolina for this one.
Yeah, I've wanted to like South Carolina all year long. Every time I watch them in a big game that's not at home, they have struggled and gotten destroyed. And I think Oregon has the pieces to win, and so I'm going to pick Oregon to win this game. It's a tight spread, it's basically a pick 'em, so Oregon's going to win this game.
South Carolina, they went they won at Tennessee this year, right? That was like
Did they win it? Did they win that game at Tennessee?
I feel like they pulled off an upset there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
If so, that's their peak moment this year. They lose this game. Oregon's healthy, experienced. I like Oregon here.
We got Creighton versus Akron. What do you think, Ethan?
I think Akron give them some troubles. I think I want to see the matchup between Enrique Freeman and I can't think of the center for Creighton right now. What's my problem?
Kalkbrenner.
Yeah, Kalkbrenner. I want to see that matchup. I think it's gonna be a good matchup down low. I think Akron can keep it close, but Creighton, I got them going pretty far in this tournament, so they're gonna win this game in the end.
Yeah, I actually got to see Akron play earlier this year at Northern Illinois. Yeah, that big guy, their big guy, really, he can create some shots. But Creighton, too much to handle for them. Creighton's one of my favorites to make it to the Elite Eight.
Yep, I got Creighton for this matchup to go against South Carolina in the second round. The next we have Texas, and that will be between, is that Colorado State and Virginia? Yep. What do you think, Audie?
Virginia doesn't belong in this tournament. Colorado State will win this game. I have a hard time picking the Colorado State Texas game. I mean, I haven't been super impressed with Texas this year either. I'm going to go Colorado State here just for the upset and the Mountain West. I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah, I'm with him. Virginia sucks. Colorado State beats them pretty easily, and then I have Colorado State beating Texas in a close game. Well, so we'll see if Max Amos comes back and does what he did with Oral Robertson. We'll see, but I think Colorado State's going to win.
Nice. I'll be the opposite. I got Texas, and they will beat Colorado State. And then the final matchup, we got Tennessee versus St. Peter's. All right, Huddy, what do you got? Finish us off here.
Well, hey, the Peacocks are back. 2 tournaments in 3 years. 15 seed both times. The St. Peter's team is different, though. Obviously, their last coach, Shaheen Holloway, went to Seton Hall. I don't think I can, the lack of they don't have Dougie Dirt on this roster this year. So I think you got to go with Tennessee.